Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ochakde show. If you're new here, this is a talk show or a podcast, whatever you want to call it, where I interview entrepreneurs and inspiring individuals from all walks of life so we can learn from their story and level up ourselves. Today, I'm extremely excited and I'm honored to have billionaire Ramy El-batrawi on the show. Ramy is an entrepreneur, author, and philanthropist. He's currently the owner and managing member of X LLC. He has such an extraordinary story. I'm going to let him talk about that. But yeah, go for it, Ramy.
Well, I don't know where to start from. I guess is we could start from this is a young audience to understand. Being young doesn't really stop you from achieving things because when I started, I read the book Think and Grow Rich at 12 years old. So it motivated me enough, and one of the things the book said is to not procrastinate. So I just left home at 12 and went on my own. Some of the first 5 years, but by 17, I was able to make my first million. So age really doesn't matter if you have determination and know exactly what you want.
Awesome. Yeah. So you went from leaving your house you read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill at 12 years old. Then you left your house at 13 years old. And then you were actually homeless for a few years. How was that like?
Because I had that book and I had a lot of confidence. There wasn't a day I was depressed or upset about it, because I saw my future and I knew it was part of the journey. So I took it by stride. So I learned every day something, talk to a lot of people. It was very important to talk to people to try to figure out what my next steps were going to be, try to figure out what the next deal was going to be. So I would even walk the streets and talk to different businesses. So it was a good way to begin, and also to have that tough at the beginning makes you stronger. When things are too easy at the beginning and it's too soft, then it's very hard to succeed when everything is given to you. Like I'm sure, like in school, if you're the most popular kid in school, and you're head of the football, the captain of the football team, and you have all the girls coming to you, and you're popular, you don't have to try too hard. But if you're the one that gets beat up all the time, like I did in high school, and things weren't easy, then you want to prove, and you struggle a lot harder. So I'm sure you take a look at a lot of the people who are the most likely to succeed in school, because when they get to real life, and they didn't have to put out anything because everything was given to them and they were popular. When all of a sudden life wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be, they couldn't perform as well as people who had to struggle through times when they were young and had to prove themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you made at 17 years after that, at 17 years old, you made $1 million. How did you do that?
That was I put in the book, it's very important to always find a need and fill it. And that's how I think I built one of my companies. I found a need out there and filled it. And I walked into this department store, and I saw this guy in front. It was around Christmas time, selling glass swans. And I saw him, glass swans he was selling, and I went and talked to him like I was talking to everybody else. And he said, yeah, he's here for the season, and that's it. And then I was trying to think, what can I do all year round? There's traffic coming in and everything else. I got to rent this spot. And I talked to a few of the employees, and people asked people asked them if they could cut keys, and they didn't do that. So I said, that's what I'll do. I'll use get a key machine, learn how to cut keys, and set up a stand right in front. And within a year, I was in all of their 400 stores. So I started that business for like $70, and just made $600 the first week, and used that to buy the next machine, and I hired people, and just kept on growing that. So it was a need that was needed, and the traffic. So it was like the first business lesson of what I was going to do.
Yeah, but you did also lose all the $1 million. I was reading that. So,
Yeah.
And that you built it back. You want to talk about how you built it back and how you lost it?
So again, I was really young, so I didn't have all the business skills. I didn't understand about leases or any of that because I was still pretty young. So I was just excited to get in the store, and I convinced the manager to give me a spot there, but didn't sign anything. But when they saw how successful I was, they said, "Oh, we might as well do it ourselves. Why let them make money?" So they gave me 30-day notice, and I was out. So I was back on the streets again because I was reinvesting everything, so I lost it all. And again, walking on the streets and stuff, I stopped by this body shop, and I saw this guy who was had 3-4 cars being repaired, and he was telling me how he bought cars from one auction and fixed it and sold another auction. So I could do that. So again, I learned the lesson of now using other people's money. I didn't have any money, and I remember meeting a guard that was working at Zers, and I convinced him into lend me the money to buy the first car. He held the title. I fixed the cars, and I'd sell them, and that was slightly successful. But then when I was at the auction, I saw these people, this one guy who wanted to buy van shells because custom vans were really big in the 80s. So, and they were very short supply, like cars are very short supply right now because there was a big demand in custom vans, and then they brought the EPA down where the mileage had added more. So factories started to build more small cars than trucks. So I was just building this slowly. I started buying vans and then selling them, and I started taking some of his vans, selling to some of the dealerships, and I realized how much money dealerships were making. And I just, again, you have to find also people who wins if you win. And so I was thinking, okay, I really need to open up a dealership. So who would win if I open up a dealership? And it hit me, the guy who built the vans would win. So I went over there and convinced him to put up the first million for the first dealership. And then I opened up 7 and then bought insurance companies and grew. So by the time I was 23, I had a net worth of about 50 million. So again, it was all just trying to find needs, filling it, finding people who wins if you win. And then, but a lot of hard work too.
That's incredible. There should be a movie made about you. Hopefully that happens soon because that's just an awesome story. I really love it. Can you like walk us through your childhood and like, because I don't think most 12-year-olds would be reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So how did that book get in your hands and how did that transform you?
Well, it was really interesting. A guy gave me that book. I only had one friend in school. I was the outcast of the school, and for some reason I don't know how he got the book, but he gave me that book. But I don't know. I read it first time and it kind of resonated with me, and I read it like 20 times, and then everything said in there just made a lot of sense. And I said, if I followed that path, I'd succeed. And I was dumb enough and young enough to believe everything it said, so I just believed it, and then made it part of my psyche. And that book became a powerful tool. And that book sold 150 million copies since 1937, made more millionaires than any other book, and everybody copies from that book. I mean, the basic truth will always be the basic truth, and that book was just the truth on how to succeed.
Yeah, and you wrote your own book, Can You Really Think and Grow Rich? Can you talk about that a little more and also explain like what's the difference between the original one and your version?
Okay. My version is different but the same. It actually lays out the principles, but that book I show how I use those principles in real life. What Napoleon Hill did was he interviewed a lot of people to write his book and get their experiences. So this book is more of a first-hand experience of all the emotion, everything that I did, what I went through. So it's a first-hand experience of using those principles. So it takes it one step further, and there's another 28 principles I put in there. But it shows the ups and downs and how it's not easy. So I went broke 3-4 times, remade $1 billion 3 times. It just shows that once you decide and never ever give up, what you have to do. So the book has been doing really well. So anybody who, you need to read Think and Grow Rich to start, but then that's the next book you need to read because it then takes you to the more modern journey that happened today. It wasn't back in the 30s, and it shows that still the same principles work. And it's a first-hand experience instead of telling other people's story.
Can you walk me through or tell me what your daily schedule looks like?
It's definitely crazy. I mean, I wake up usually around 4 or 5 in the morning, whether I like it or not. My mind just wakes up, and I get up, have my cup of coffee. Then I start take that time to answer emails, get ready for the day. Do the things I didn't have time the previous day to do. Some mornings I trade, so the market opens up at 6:30. I trade a little bit, and then after that, I just go about my day. Once I planned it out, caught up a lot of things, and it's just one meeting after meeting. It's nonstop phone calls, meetings, because I'm doing 3-4 businesses at the same time, so it's very demanding. And I want to push harder than anybody else because I get more done in a week than most people do in 6 months. So it takes that kind of effort. And I usually work until like 10 o'clock at night, and then I start over again. I sleep only 3-4 hours a night because all night I'm thinking about the day and also different things I could do, and I get a million ideas. And then I start again all over again at 4 in the morning again.
Wow. That's incredible. Well, how do you like manage? Because you said three, four businesses. How do you manage everything? And probably have all those thoughts. How do you keep everything in balance?
Well, I've learned in time one, I get good people to work with me and allocate responsibility. But if I'm working on one company, when I'm done with it, my mind is like a file cap in the things in the book too. So I shut that file, open the next file cap for the next thing I'm working on. So I forget about everything else and I focus 100% on what I'm working on. And then when I'm done with that, I put that file away and then focus on that. So my mind is 100% on whatever I'm doing at that moment. But I could shift back and forth within seconds.
Got it. So, what is like one mistake that you made that you want to help others not make?
There's definitely things that you wish you did. I mean, at the beginning, you're always afraid or you make mistakes. I listened to the wrong people, and then changed my mind when I knew better. So since I've learned those lessons, the mistakes, I never listen to anybody else. I know enough, and I know that when I think about it, and the universe opens up with all the information, I go with my gut feel, and I know what I go after. I don't listen to brokers anymore when they recommend a stock or something because I know what I'm doing. Oh no, you shouldn't get in that stock, and give me all these stupid reasons, and then it went up. Or I shouldn't do things. And most people's opinion are not really that good. If they haven't really achieved anything themselves, you shouldn't be listening to other people. So the bigger thing is, now everybody always has opinion, your family, your friends, and if they really haven't done anything, I don't think you should listen to any of them. I mean, you should look up to people who actually achieve things, and forget criticism, because and part of thinking you're rich is the number one fear is criticism from other people, and they fear that, and they listen. They're afraid to do something that they get criticized about. And so I think it's getting rid of any fear that you have. It's a freedom, and it makes you try things and do things that you normally wouldn't.
What was your biggest fear when you were growing and when you were young, and how did you overcome it?
My biggest fear, again, I was homeless and stuff, was I going to stay broke, or I lost it again. So at the beginning, there was some doubts until I achieved some successes, and then failing the next time, and I was able to rebuild. I was slowly getting rid of those fears, because in almost everybody, the fear of loss is greater than hope of gain. So I've learned to reverse that to make my hope of gain greater than fear of loss. So now I have no fear in taking risk. I'll always risk everything for a goal.
Yeah, and you were talking about, I was listening to another podcast. You were talking about how you have to have like that burning desire and blood and sweat. How do you define that? And then also, what do you look for when you hire someone?
Okay. Burning desire is something like, if you just want something that's just like wishing in something. You have to create a burning desire, because if you don't have that burning desire, then any roadblock or any no's and stuff, like things I've gone through, like the story about Khashoggi working with the richest man in the world, it took me 4 years and 1,000 no's before he said yes. Or there's never going to be an easy road. And the way you build a burning desire is you have that thought, but you have to mix it with emotion. It doesn't even have to be a good emotion. It could be a sad emotion, or love, or any of those emotions. But you got to mix it with your thoughts, so it opens up your mind and becomes a burning desire. And that's what it is you want something so bad because you're emotionally driven that little stumbling blocks don't stop you. So it's really important. I think the first principle is to build that, because if you don't have that, you'll stop even before you start, or you get one no, one rejection. Imagine getting 100 rejections. You'll stop sooner or later. But if you have that burning desire, you don't. And your second question about what I look for people that when I hire, most people that work for me love to work for me. I don't think I've ever had anybody really quit, or people just beg to work for me and stuff, because I inspire them. But I never hire anybody when all they do is talk about money, what they're going to earn, or anything else, because then they're going to just work for the paycheck. You got to see if they bought into your dream and thing, and they want to be part of it, because even like the Wright brothers or any of these people who achieve great things, they work overnight. I mean, the day and night, and sacrifice so much. They didn't worry about what dollars they're going to make. And so if you get somebody to really believe in your cause or believe in your company, they won't ask what I'm going to make. That's the last thing they think of. They just want to work for your company. So that's if I'm talking to somebody and right away, oh, what's my salary? Then I know that's not the right person, because then they'll punch clocks. And because the people I have working for me now will work 18-hour days, 7 days a week if they have to achieve the objective or the goals of what I need to do in the companies I have.
How did you inspire your team to do that? Like, how do you inspire people in your, like you were talking about how everyone that worked for you loves working for you. How did you make that happen?
One, you have to lead by example. So I don't ask anybody to do something that I won't do. So I'll do the most menial work over there, and I work extremely hard, and they see my example, and they don't want to disappoint and work less than I do. And the other thing is, I never get upset with people for mistakes or things because they're trying harder. And I always speak and inspire them and show them the goal and the way what we're going to achieve, and broaden the way they're thinking of what it is. It's just not a job, a 9 to 5, that they're gonna. This is a way that they can learn and grow with a company. And I always also when there's a liquidation event and everything, all my employees either get stock options or something, so they know they're working for more than just a salary. That the success of the company is theirs. And they go home and so excited to work the next day, because now they're building something special. They're part of something instead of just being an employee and just being yelled at or told what to do. So if you make them part of it, lead by example, inspire when you talk. You don't have to yell at anybody to do anything. It's amazing. People will just follow and want to achieve those things for you.
Awesome. Well, what is your definition of success?
Success is different for everybody. My success is, I think of things in the billions of dollars. Some people's success is just, being really charitable, or just being happy, or winning somebody they love, or being the greatest doctor they can be, or surgeon. So everybody's success is whatever they decide that their success is. So it's basically having a goal and achieving that goal, and that's success. So if you don't have that goal, and like a lot of people won't aspire to what I want. I mean, a lot of people won't believe they can make billions of dollars. To me, it's a second nature. I know I can, and I have. So my goals are a lot bigger. But some people are very happy if they can make $1 million a year, or 10 million, or they're happy if they could just build a company, or have a successful restaurant, be a great chef. I mean, it's whatever their goals are. It makes them a success.
Did you, when you were younger, did you always want to be a billionaire, or did it just happen did it just happen, or did you say, okay, after I read this book, I want to be a billionaire, and you kept working towards it? Or did you just how did it happen?
Yeah, no, after I read the book, it wasn't the word billionaire, but I said I'm going to become one of the richest men in the world. That was my goal.
Okay.
And might equate to billions. But that was the whole goal, was always be one of the richest men in the world, and I was on a path to try to get that done.
So a lot of people say your only goal shouldn't be wealth, or chasing money, or money doesn't buy happiness. What are your thoughts on about all that stuff?
Again, it depends on the person. To me, money is more than just money, because I'm very generous. I give away a lot, and then money for me buys a lot of power, influence, freedom. And I get things done. I create jobs. I make a lot of things happen. I help the homeless. So money translates to something a lot more than just putting in the bank. I mean, I know people made billions of dollars that won't even buy lunch for somebody or something, and dies with all their wealth. And it's true. Like if you look at the great industrialists like Rockefeller and JP Morgan, all those guys, they, at the end of their lives, they had a competition who could give away the most money. They said if you died with money, then you failed. So you have to die and give away everything before you die, because you can't really take it with you. So money has it has a huge purpose in life, and without it, you can't achieve a lot of things. You can't have the freedoms that you need to have. And the people who said money doesn't buy happiness, mostly because they don't have money, or they're jealous about it. They don't think they can achieve it. But It does help a lot. I've been broke and I've had money, and then definitely I'm a lot happier when I have money, and I have a lot more confidence, and I have a lot more influence, and I could achieve so much more.
I love that. Yeah, and you were talking about how you give a lot and you are a philanthropist. And what is one lesson you've learned of being a philanthropist?
It's really when you do it, is you do it because you want to do it and you don't need to take the credit. Like I do a lot of things anonymously because it feels better, and it's not tied to your ego. It's really, you have to give, and it feels good to give because you have to give back, because what's the use of making it if you don't give back? So it's there's a lot of things that, and it's not good just to give something for like nothing. Like I think that like the government program giving free money to everybody, $600 a week and all, made them lazy. They say that they quit their jobs and work because they made more money staying home than working. So I'm not talking about that, but where there's real need, but inspire people at the same time as your whatever you give is to really create something else for somebody else, not just to give it to them.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And let's go to one of the last questions here. What's your best piece of advice for teenagers? Because a lot of my audience are high schoolers. So what would you say to them?
You know, it's interesting because this whole generation of high schoolers and stuff, and I guess you call it the Z generation, right?
Gen Z.
Gen Z. The thing is, great things happen through misery. Through the Great Depression, the country became greater and most powerful country in the world. You have to go through rough times to achieve the next great heights. And the thing with the high schools and Gen Z is life has been too easy. It's like the market's been up, everything's been up, and I think what I was is do something, put yourself in a position where you have to suffer a little bit, that you step out of your comfort zone and feel what it's like to be broke, or feel what it's like to struggle, or feel, feel something. It'll open up your mind to achieve greater things. But if you skate through and just watch social media and play video games and just hope for quick money that you're going to be the next internet or crypto millionaire or something like that, and not really work for it, you'll get disappointed because it's a very small percentage will ever achieve that. So I think is get out of the comfort zone and do something that you would never do and fail, and not be afraid to fail and feel that failure. It'll push you to the next level.
Definitely, yeah. And that's also the reason I started this show, is to inspire other young people to like get out of their comfort zone and learn from people like you, and really just go for it. That's what Ochakde means, go for it. But that was a phenomenal episode. That was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. What was your favorite part of being on the show?
I really like the idea that I could now reach a younger audience, because they need to succeed too. Also, it's a great time, because I'm glad I picked up the book when I was that young, at 12 years old. So I was beginning of a high school. So reaching when you're really young is very important, because you're not yet fully corrupted by the world telling you it's impossible, you can't do it and stuff like that. So it's a good time to start now believing in yourself. So that's part of being in the show. It is reaching the audience at early enough age that they need to understand they can't be influenced by the rest of the world, and understand the power that they have to achieve anything they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by like getting corrupted by it's impossible? What did you mean by that? Can you explain that a little more?
Well, throughout your life, like people if you have a dream to do something, people who didn't achieve it was, that's impossible to make $1 million. They've never done it themselves. They're on a 9-to-5 job. Barely, I think the average wage is $45,000 a year in America. So 95% of people barely live paycheck to paycheck. Most people, 90% of people retire with less than $10,000 in the bank. So their view of the world is it's a struggle. You can't really make it. The 1%er are just lucky, or they're rich. And if you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve that, they're going to knock you down and say, no, you can't do it. Stop dreaming. And it's good to have not to listen to these people and believe in yourself greater than what anybody says to you. I mean, there's a really good movie that showed that. It's funny, I watched it last night. Is Rudy. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rudy, but it's good for young. but it's a guy. Everybody should watch it. It's a guy who wanted to play football for Notre Dame, and he had no grades. He was in school, and his journey to finally get on the field for Notre Dame, which he was only 5 foot something, not a football player, not a he couldn't even enter Notre Dame, but his struggles and everything else, and how, and you could see throughout his life, everybody told him exactly the same thing: you can't achieve it. It's too much of a dream. Going to Notre Dame, that's for rich people. That's not for you. And then he proved them all wrong. So I think watching that movie will show you a lot of what I mean.
I will watch that movie. I know I said we're gonna wrap up, but did that happen to you a lot, where people discouraged you and said, "Oh, you can't do that"?
Oh yeah, all the time, even today.
Today, I mean,
Yeah.
why today? You're a billionaire. What does anyone have to say to you?
Yeah, so if I tell people I want to be richer than Bezos, it's like, but I know my journey and what I'm going to do. But people still don't feel like, oh, I'm going to build this company, or I can achieve certain things. People still, even your peers, don't believe you're going to achieve your things. Because my dreams and things I want to do are a lot bigger, or things that they can never achieve, but I can, because I believe it.
There we go. I love that. Thank you so much, Ramy. And make sure to hit that subscribe button, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.